Five Chinese warships entered contested waters, and left in formation retreat. No missiles, no shots, just pure tactical pressure. In this debrief, we break down how a single US maneuver forced Beijing's vessels to disengage. What kind of formation signals can make a navy back off without firing a round? That's the question that reveals the real art of maritime deterrence, and why the South China Sea has become the world's most dangerous chessboard. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
Manila said a Chinese Coast Guard ship rammed and used water cannons against the Philippine vessel near Thitu Island, while Beijing blamed the Philippines for illegally entering Chinese waters. Chinese ships reportedly approached and used water cannons to drive them away. Minutes later, one Chinese Coast Guard vessel reportedly fired a water cannon directly at a fisheries bureau ship. The Philippine Coast Guard said the incident happened on Sunday morning near Thitu Island, known locally as Pagasa. 3 Filipino government vessels were anchored near the island to help local fishermen.
How did geometry, not firepower, turn 5 Chinese warships around in one of the world's most contested seas? Near the Spratlys Islands, ocean quiet met iron resolve. 2 fleets closed within visual range, their wakes cutting slow arcs under a gray sky, each bridge calculating how far it could push without firing. Through radar and glass, contact reports started to tighten. The Chinese group advanced in a crescent formation, testing the U.S. patrol line that had been tracing a freedom of navigation run across disputed coordinates. Every move was mirrored: rudder angles, engine pitch, even lighting patterns. At sea level, the contest was about posture, not projectiles. Naval crews trained for this rhythm. Bow-on approaches showed dominance, parallel track tails signal defiance, and shadowing along beam position warns of encroachment. Yet no one squeezes a trigger. Dominance here is visual, almost theatrical. Then came the U.S. pivot. Instead of staying in the usual line astern, the commander swung his lead ship left and fanned the rest wide, forming a layered shield front. It looked like steel resolving into certainty, a geometry that said, "We're not yielding." This was textbook deterrence: fill the horizon with hulls to claim physical space, while keeping weapons cold. In American doctrine, even angles tell a story. A formation defines intent, a bearing defines control. Whoever owns the angle owns the encounter. The Chinese ships, now boxed between reefs and shallow ridges, lost their lateral escape. Their helms had to turn, small corrections first, then full course changes to avoid collision. For minutes that felt longer than hours, the sea held its breath. No gunfire, no threats. Just quiet moves deciding pride. And then, one by one, the Chinese vessels peeled away, retreating in tight formation. A silent victory shaped not by missiles, but by mathematics. But that withdrawal didn't fade quietly. It kicked off something far larger across the South China Sea. Why did one retreat send ripples all the way to Washington, Manila, and Beijing? In the South China Sea, a few degrees of rudder can shift entire strategies. The retreat near the Spratlys wasn't just about movement, it was about message. Those reefs sit in a web of competing claims where even a patrol route becomes a statement of sovereignty. Every wake pattern, every interception, feeds a political story.
The Philippines Foreign Affairs Department confirmed that a formal protest would be filed. Photos and videos shared by the Coast Guard showed a Chinese ship shadowing a Filipino vessel with its water cannons activated and rammed its stern, causing minor damage but no injuries. The Philippine Maritime Council condemned the reported attack and called it an aggressive and illegal act. It said Manila would take appropriate diplomatic action against Beijing.
At the same time, near Sandy Cay, Chinese and Philippine vessels locked into their own tense standoff. Hulls closed distance. Warnings echoed over open channels. It was the second flashpoint in a single week, this one drawing the world's attention to two allied commitments, the line Washington drew decades ago in the Mutual Defense Treaty. That document doesn't only apply to armies and air wings, it extends to the sea, to the white hulls of Coast Guard ships confronting steel-gray frigates. When the U.S. Navy's formation forced the Chinese withdrawal, analysts saw more than a tactical edge. Washington's next move came from the State Department, an official reminder that any armed attack in the South China Sea, including one against the Philippine Coast Guard, would fall under treaty protection.
So the second target's dead.
Those words, Washington stands with Manila as they confront China's dangerous actions which undermine regional stability, landed like a coded broadcast. Tactical victory had turned into legal deterrence. Beijing countered with calm language, branding its own restraint as proof of matured control. Domestically, the government called it a recalibration, not a retreat. But satellite tracking suggested the clash occurred within Philippine-claimed waters, challenging China's defensive framing. The U.S. maneuver now read as a double strike, denying operating space while confirming collective defense. Analysts marked this as a pivot point where presence carried more weight than payloads. Legislators soon pressed for updated response plans should deterrence falter. The message was clear: formation, intent, alliance. And the ripple from that geometry still shapes how the next flashpoint will unfold. In the South China Sea, dominance now depends on angles and intent more than sheer tonnage or firepower. A captain's bearing, a formation's curve, a silence on the radio, these are the new weapons that decide who controls the horizon. The next breakthrough in deterrence won't come from missiles but from decisions made in seconds on open water. Understanding these silent exchanges is how you read modern power. Subscribe and join a community that studies the geometry of command and the language of deterrence. Because the real question in every encounter remains, who blinks first when the formations close again?